following is brought to you by TaskJet, the future of task management. Most people use this word conspiracy when there's some information that they're not entirely sure if it's true. They use, and they just chalk it up that it's a bunch of paranoid people, loonies. Some people are paranoid and create imaginary things, but a lot of things that are chalked up as conspiracy are actually going on. You just want to be blindfolded. Because subconsciously, why would you want to go through, let's face it, pain of knowing some information about you being controlled and not having much an ability to do anything about it? But when people show you evidence of something happening over and over again, at what point do you take it seriously? Because if it's labeled by the mainstream as conspiracy, then you have to question why they're using this term over and over again in the first place, first off. And second, even when you see evidence, are you going to believe it just because it's from a big box corporation that's purveying it? Is that the only time you believe if information is true? Because most people do not believe an independent. But when it's not just one independent, when it's hundreds or thousands of independents who all come out and say the same thing, what are you waiting for? You wait until 51% of the population agrees. If you do that, you're late to the party, my friend. So if the same evidence or information keeps popping up, you got to take it seriously. And you're going to revert back to two things in your mind. One, that means you've been lied to your whole life, and most people don't think that's possible. And yes, it is possible, because you didn't really want to face it when it popped up beforehand. This is not the first time you're hearing information that you ignored. And the second is, you don't think a group of people can actually pull this off. I mean, wouldn't people be outraged? And the truth is, yes, many people are outraged. But a lot of those people who are outraged don't necessarily have the resources or the power or the connections to actually fight back. And some do in their own way through their business. So they get on YouTube, they create a radio show about it, and they try to take down people who are in power, who are doing bad things, or they go into the justice system, and occasionally you do catch somebody and find them and lock them up like a Jeffrey Epstein. But remember, they get off years before they actually do time. So the question is, how can a bunch of people pull this off? He who controls the money supply controls the world and the political landscape. And you're saying to yourself, well, you know, money can't buy everything. Can't buy people, can't cover up stories, can't cover up the truth. Not at that level. Don't act like people are so morally righteous that everyone is above money, especially people who are in power and who have authority. Okay? You go into a car dealership and you have, 10 salesmen who will do some kind of tactics to get the deal, okay? Brokers are going to tell you how something, is going to work. How many times do you keep your political views a little silent because you want the promotion? There's lots of stuff that we do that we don't morally believe in, okay? So don't act like it's so hard to manipulate people if you dangle a carrot that's big enough in front of them. And when you get to really high levels, where it's a lot of money that's dangling in front of you, it takes very strong people to say no to that and to fight for that justice. Okay? But it gets harder and harder to make those decisions the bigger that pot is, right? So again, it's going to take some pretty tough people to change this entire landscape and the entire control that's been pulled over a lot of our eyes. But what it really means is that people kind of have been in control for a very long time. And this is why a lot of religions care so much about genealogy and bloodlines. They invest a lot of money into this. And you could think that's random or, there's no reason for that, but I urge you to look into it a little deeper and figure out why. All the evidence that takes down somebody who's, not so righteous, whether it's in the courtroom, in the legal system, it's usually indirect evidence. You do things to find evidence that supports your conclusion, and you present it to a judge and a jury who ultimately decides. Hardly any cases are slam dunk, where you have 100 witnesses who all corroborate the exact same story. Okay, you take a bunch of facts, take a bunch of evidence, and you draw a conclusion based on what you believe to be accurate. When you get a testimony and you hear two sides of the story. So when a lot of independents come out with theories based on facts, you can't just not take it seriously forever. Again, he who controls the money supply controls the world and the political landscape. People get bought out to push agendas. People get bought out to cover up stories. People get bought out to not charge somebody on a crime. And yes, people have been bought out to kill. So you have to follow the money trail. You have to follow the patterns. When you get a real hardcore truth that you intuitively feel there could be something there, because your intuition is powerful. So if you have someone printing money behind the scenes, how does that directly or indirectly affect the valuation of the purchase of goods and services? If you have a printing press, how does anybody else know about it? Now, if I flood the market with trillions of dollars, the valuation of money is going to go down, making all things more expensive. But that's exactly what has happened compared to what the value of the dollar was going back decades ago, centuries ago, right? So things are not always what they appear to be. And the people you think who are in power might just be puppets. They might just be a distraction, okay? And why would they do this? Because the people who are really in control want to divert attention, and they want to cause more chaos and confusion, because the more people at the bottom of the pyramid that fight against issues that aren't really that important, what happens? You distract yourself from who is actually manipulating and controlling the entire landscape to begin with. So you have people at the top of the pyramid, and this isn't necessarily CEOs of major corporations. They're almost like pawns on a chessboard. And most people are playing checkers, okay? Let's get that straight. But there's a game at the top of people playing chess. And some corporations are putting their money towards some causes, and they might be promoting a Republican, or they might be promoting a Democrat, but most of these are just pawns. They are using their businesses as vehicles, but there's a driver of that vehicle. There's a king, there's a queen, there's a rook, there's a bishop on that chessboard who have much more power. And if you're really powerful, you don't probably want to reveal your cards to everyone, saying, I'm the one in control. So if you're really smart, what do? You devise a bunch of schemes to take attention off of yourself. So this has been going on for centuries and millennia. So the best thing for you to do is do your own research, do some digging. And if this interests you, and if it logically makes sense and you intuitively feel it, it's time to band together, and it's time to do something about it.
This has been brought to you by TaskChat, the task management tool to simplify your life. TaskChatApp.com.